what I learned from a real estate developer that will help my wholesaling business. What's up YouTube, Matthew here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how a recent interview or a recent interaction I had with a real estate investor in town, specifically one who develops properties in the residential space. I was able to meet with this developer at his properties and we got to talk about business, about real estate. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about that meeting and what we can learn from a real estate developer that can help our wholesaling business. Because I think it's always good to learn from the top tier people, the people doing higher level things in real estate, in order for us to understand how to scale our wholesaling business, how to implement and attack the different leads we come across in our wholesaling real estate business. All right, you all, make sure you like the video before we go on, and make sure you all subscribe so we can continue growing this community of entrepreneurs and people just trying to find freedom, financial freedom with real estate investing or wholesaling or whatever. All right, so how did I meet this real estate investor? So this actually happened years ago, but I recently had a meeting with him about last week. But essentially, I met this real estate investor just at a potluck, right? A potluck is a gathering of food. It was after a church service, and I met this individual and I just started talking to him. I said what I did, and this was probably early on, maybe before I even got my first deal, maybe back in 2019. But I met this real estate investor, specifically developer, and he was talking about how he owns rentals, he does flips, he does development and different things like that. He also does financing, he's a broker, he's a mortgage lender, and other things like that. And so I was able to connect with him too, and I knew his daughter, like we kind of hung out like with groups of friends and whatnot. Until recently, he popped in my head and I was all like, wait, I know a real estate investor, specifically a real estate developer, and I know his daughter, right? We hung out with groups of friends before, and I was all like, I'm in real estate, I've done a few deals, now I'm looking for some rental properties. Let me reach out to this real estate developer. And I looked on his Facebook page. He just bought a bunch of land and he already started constructing like some townhouses that he's going to lease out for like from anywhere between $2,000 to $2,500 a month. And I just saw him being active in his business, and he recently purchased these properties like back in February. And so I'm all like, yo, I need to connect with this guy. So I added him on Instagram, on Facebook. I sent him an email and I sent him a message on Facebook, and he ended up responding back to me. And at first I was all like, hey, can we meet for coffee so I can talk to you and pick your brains about this or that? And he was all like, yeah, we can do that. As the date was approaching, he actually told me, hey, just come at one of my sites that I'm working on. I think it will be a better learning experience for you. And I was all like, yeah, let's do it. And so I was able to meet him at like 3 different properties that he was currently flipping, and they were all around the same area. And so we got to talk. So what did I learn from this real estate developer that has some townhouses that he's building that he's going to rent out and was working on some minor flips at the moment? What can we learn as wholesalers from a person doing higher level tactics in real estate? The number one thing I learned from this real estate developer is that to go big and not focus on the small things. So for this specific developer, he was just flipping these small houses just to get cash, right? Because he wanted to move his cash into a multi-family property. And he's all like, yeah, I could rent these out, I can get this much, I can cash flow this much, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for these big units. So if 1 or 2 or even 3 of my tenants move out or they don't pay or whatever reason, I can still cash flow my properties. And also this apartment building will give me better leverage to the bank so I can get a bigger loan and buy bigger assets. And so that was just really insightful for me in my wholesaling business, that I think a lot of times as beginners, as people working in wholesaling, I think we're so small-minded that we just need the next check or we just need the next lead or someone to say yes, and we're not focusing on the bigger picture. We're trying to create generational wealth. We're trying to create financial freedom. And another thing about that analogy of focusing on the big things is that even in wholesaling, we a lot of times focus on the small details, like, oh, I need to make sure my CRM system is correct, and I need to make sure I put this contact here, or I need to have business cards or do that. But you're not focusing on the big things, the things that actually generate you money, which is talking to people, right? And I think for me, another aspect to that is that I think think a lot of times I focused on just wholesaling, when there were plenty of deals that I could have kept. Like imagine I was closing a bunch of deals in 2020, 2021, that even now in 2022, some of those houses are worth 2x, 3x than what I wholesaled it to another cash buyer who held on to it as a rental. And so I think a lot of times being money hungry, and I understand you got to get your cash up and whatnot, but it can close your mind to the bigger aspect of things, right? Because if I kept some of those properties, I could have had better leverage with the bank and refinance my properties and buy bigger properties and cash flow more. So what he did, it was just 3 small properties that he was just flipping, getting some cash and moving it into a investment property. The other thing that I learned from this investor was that he really leveraged debt effectively and efficiently. I know cash is always better, and I do believe in owning 100% of your assets. However, in today's climate and how the world works, if you want to, I guess, fast track that or make it more accessible for you, especially if you don't have a lot of money, you have to learn debt, you have to learn credit, you have to learn how to borrow money in order for it to make you money. And so this guy, even at his scale, he was borrowing money, and those 3 properties, or even that large lot of land that he's building townhouses on, he was able to get it through seller financing, right? He got a mortgage from the bank, 80% loan to value, but then the 20% that he was supposed to get down, he ended up getting it under seller financing, where he has to pay back the seller in a specific amount of time. I think it was either 3 or 5 years. I'm just understanding. So he's in the project with $0 of cash from his pockets. All right, the third thing I want to talk about, what I learned from this real estate developer, is that he leveraged his education. He made sure he invested in his education. He was talking about this guru and that guru, and for some reason, I feel like when you're at that scale, you already know what you're doing, so why do you need to know about these people? But he knew as many of these real estate investor gurus on YouTube, on Instagram, than I knew, and I was all like, wow, this person is still actively learning and growing and understanding that he is not perfect in everything, right? And there are bigger people that he wants to aspire to be, even at an older age, even with a wife and kids and a family and everything like that. And I just think that's so inspiring. And he was talking about how he went to Grant Cardone seminars and invested in some education. Not only the education he invested in their products. He said he put money into some of Cardone products, like some multifamilies that he had, you know, that investors can pull in their money and invest in and different things like that. So he's always like learning, going to seminars, investing not only in the education, but in the services and products that a well-experienced investor provides. Another thing I want to mention real quick is that he really wanted to help the community too. He was telling me that he was inspired by me, that I was young and hungry and trying to learn this business, and it left an impression on him. And that, yeah, in the future, whether I'm learning how to manage some of these apartments and getting a percentage of ownership, or I'm helping him film a video because he's trying to get into YouTube. So I'm trying to provide value, but he's trying to help me too. And he understands being in the South, being young, and everything like that associated with it. And so he was really big into that and growing me, and me actually growing his business and helping him out in any way possible. So I hope you all enjoyed this video of my meeting with the real estate developer. That's one of the things that's been happening in my business. And on this channel, I just bring you all along to this journey. And so if I meet with someone and I thought it was cool and interesting, I'll make a video about it. And then hopefully you all can learn from the different conversations I have with people and the different motivation it may give you in your business. All right, you all, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Once again, like and subscribe and comment down below if you have any questions that I can ask this developer. All right, talk to you all later.